My name is Marion Buchanan. I'm 32 years old, and by the time Friday night rolls around, my entire body feels like it's been wrung out like a dishcloth. 12-hour shifts at the pediatric unit will do that to you. The crying, the emergencies, the terrified parents clinging to hope. I love my job with everything in me, but when I finally clock out at the end of the week, I want exactly 3 things: silent sleep and one decent brunch with my friends if I can manage it. What I don't want is to become the full-time weekend nanny for my older sister's 3 children. But that was the direction things started heading. My sister Melissa has triplets, 3-year-old whirlwinds who are adorable, yes, but also the pure embodiment of chaos. Melissa married Daniel 6 years ago, and for a while, everything seemed normal enough. I honestly thought she was coping well, but somewhere along the line, she started testing the waters with me. Little comments at first. "You're so good with kids, Marion. The girls adore their auntie. Must be nice having weekends off while some of us never get a break." I pretended not to notice the tone underneath the guilt, the quietly simmering resentment, because that's what you do when you don't want to fight. But then she stopped hinting and went straight for the kill. So she said one afternoon, as if it were the most casual thing in the world, "I was thinking, since you don't have kids and your weekends are free, you could take the girls every Saturday. Give me and Daniel some couple time." I blinked. "Every Saturday?" "Yeah, it would be great for them," she chirped. "And you're a nurse, so you know how to handle kids." "I handle sick children at a hospital," I reminded her gently. "That's a little different from babysitting triplets for how many hours exactly?" "Oh, just like 8 to 6, maybe 7. Depends on plans. 10 to 11 hours. Every Saturday. For free." "Melissa, that's not going to work for me." Her expression changed instantly. The shift from sugar sweet to Arctic cold took all of 2 seconds. "Why not? What else are you doing?" "Living my life," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "Recovering from my work week. I already work over 50 hours. "But you don't have kids," she snapped. "You don't know what tired is until you have kids." I took a slow breath. "I can babysit occasionally with notice for a few hours. Not every weekend and not for an entire day." She scoffed. "Daniel said you'd be difficult about this." That stung, and she knew it. Later that night, I called Daniel myself. "Did you tell her I'd be difficult?" He groaned. "She's been on me about needing help, and I might have mentioned you work with kids. I didn't mean for her to guilt trip you. I'll talk to her." He didn't, or if he did, it didn't stick. Because that's when the texts began. Daily messages, photos of the girls saying they missed Auntie Marion, passive-aggressive comments at family dinners. Guilt, and more guilt. I stayed firm, one Saturday a month, 4 hours maximum with notice, and she acted like I'd spit in her face. Then came last Saturday. I was still in my pajamas at 9 in the morning, sipping coffee in absolute silence, savoring the only slow moment I'd had all week. When the doorbell rang, I nearly ignored it, but something felt off, a heaviness in my gut I couldn't explain. I opened the door and froze. There they were, 3 tiny toddlers standing on my porch, a diaper bag tossed beside them, and Melissa's minivan speeding down my driveway. She didn't even look back. She didn't wave. She didn't get out of the car. She just dumped her children on my doorstep and drove away. The youngest immediately burst into tears. I ushered them inside, because what else do you do, and grabbed my phone. Straight to voicemail. "Melissa, what are you doing? Come get your kids." A text pinged moments later. "I have work today. Emergency shift. You'll be fine. There are snacks in the bag. Pick up around 5. "Work? Sure." I called Daniel next. "Hey, did you know Melissa dropped the girls off at my house?" A pause so long I thought the call dropped. "What? No." "She said she picked up an emergency shift at the hospital." "Well, she didn't. She left them on my porch and drove away. I never agreed to this." "What?" He sounded genuinely blindsided. "She texted me saying she was called into an emergency. I'm at my buddy's place right now. I can't watch them all day. She's not answering me either. Let me try to reach her." I waited with the girls for 15 tense minutes before he called back, voice tight. "She's not answering me, but I checked. Find my Marion, her phone is at a spa resort, 40 minutes away. She didn't go to work. She lied to both of us." A cold anger spread through me, slow and steady. "Do you want me to come pick them up?" he asked. "Yes, please." He arrived half an hour later, jaw clenched so hard I worried his teeth would crack. He gathered the girls, apologized over and muttered, "I'll handle this before driving away." I thought that would be the end of it. But less than an hour later, my phone lit up with messages not from Daniel. From Melissa. "You called him? You couldn't just watch them for one day. You had to ruin everything." I stared at the text numb. You lied. You abandoned your kids. I warned you I wouldn't do this. You're selfish and childless and bitter. No wonder no man sticks around. I blocked her. I made myself lunch. I cleaned up the toys the girls had scattered, and I reminded myself over and over that I wasn't the one who caused this. But I had no idea how deeply my sister's lies went, or how badly this decision I know was about to tear my entire family apart. For the rest of that day, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. A call, a text, an apology. I knew deep down would never come. Instead, silence settled over everything thick and electric, the kind that tells you something ugly is being stitched together behind closed doors. By Sunday morning, the stitching unraveled. My phone rang at 7 a.m. Mom. I should have let it go to voicemail, but habit made me swipe. Marion, she began, voice tight with disappointment. We need to talk about the mess you made. I sat up in bed. The mess I made? You could have just watched the girls for one day. Melissa was overwhelmed. Mothers get overwhelmed. She didn't have a shift, Mom. She was at a spa. She told both of us she was working. That's between her and her husband. You didn't need to be the one to blow it up. I actually laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd it made my brain glitch. So I should have, what? Watched the kids all day, said nothing, and let her lie to Daniel indefinitely. Mom hesitated as if searching for the right moral angle. You could have talked to her first woman to woman instead of tattling to her husband. Tattle, I repeated. Mom, I'm 32. And still single, she added sharply, as if that explained my moral failings. You're always so rigid. You need to learn to bend. She hung up before I could respond. I stared at my phone for a long time, feeling the sting settle inside me like a bruise. Minutes later, a message buzzed. Daniel, can we talk? Not about taking sides. I just need someone who isn't telling me what to think. We met for coffee Tuesday morning before my shift. He looked rough hair, uncombed, eyes ringed with exhaustion, the weight of something heavier than sleep deprivation hanging off his shoulders. I feel stupid, he said quietly, hands wrapped around his mug like it was the only warm thing left in his life. How did I not see it? Trust isn't stupidity, I told him. You believed your wife. That's normal. He exhaled shakily, and then the truth poured out. Once he realized Melissa hadn't just lied about a single shift, he started digging, and everything began to unravel. She hadn't worked her retail job in 8 months. She'd been telling him she was picking up extra shift, the paychecks she deposited. They were actually cash withdrawals from a secret credit card he didn't know existed. She'd racked up $23,000 in debt. Spa days, shopping sprees, brunches with friends, a gym membership she never used, and the babysitter he thought he was paying. Just a friend who watched the girls for an hour or two before Melissa picked them up and claimed they were there all day. Melissa had crafted an entire alternate life, a fantasy where she wasn't drowning as a mother, but thriving as a woman with freedom, time, and money. When he finished, Daniel rubbed his temples like he was trying to physically push the embarrassment out of his skull. She says it's because I don't appreciate her, he murmured, that raising triplets is too hard, and I should have seen she needed help. Needing help doesn't justify fraud, I said gently, or abandoning the girls on my porch. He didn't disagree. I left him with a hug and no advice because this wasn't my marriage to fix. But while Daniel was unraveling the truth, Melissa was busy weaving something new. By Thursday, she had launched an entirely new Instagram account. Her old one had gone quiet after she and Daniel's fight rippled through their friend group. The new account was a masterpiece of victimhood. A shadow will pretend to be your sister, but she's really your enemy. Some people destroy families because they're jealous of what they can't have. Imagine being so lonely you'd rather ruin a marriage than help with kids. She didn't mention my name, but she didn't have to. Family started texting. Friends of Melissa women I barely knew began sliding into my DMs. You should be ashamed. Homewrecker. You're jealous of her life because she has what you never will. It would have hurt less if it were strangers. But 2 of my cousins messaged too. I didn't respond. I didn't defend myself. I didn't fight. But the isolation that crept in like frost. The one person I leaned on was Evan, my boyfriend. You didn't do anything wrong, he reminded me as we cooked dinner one night. You protected 3 children and told the truth. That's not betrayal, Marion. That's integrity. His calmness kept me tethered. His certainty kept me from folding into guilt. But Melissa wasn't done. Her mother called me next. You destroyed my daughter's life, she hissed into the phone. Are you happy now? Your daughter destroyed her own life, I replied evenly by lying. Stealing and abandoning her kids. She was struggling. So were the rest of us, I said. But we didn't commit fraud. She hung up on me. By the time the family group chat erupted into a full-scale war, half blaming me, half blaming Melissa and my brother-in-law, too, ashamed to say anything. I realized something. This wasn't a moment, it was a spark. And the fire it lit was about to burn through every corner of our family. 3 weeks passed, and every day felt like walking through fog, thick, heavy, confusing. I kept wondering when the chaos would settle, when people would stop calling, when Melissa would run out of ways to twist reality. I underestimated her, because the next escalation, I truly didn't see coming. It started on a Wednesday morning right after a brutal night shift. I had just dragged myself up the stairs to my apartment when I saw her. Melissa, sitting on the floor outside my door, legs pulled against her chest, mascara streaked across her cheeks. For a moment, I thought something terrible had happened. Instinct kicked in. "Are you okay?" I asked. She lifted her head. Her eyes were puffy red wet. "We need to talk." "I really don't think we do," I said quietly. "Please, 5 minutes. I just want to explain." Against my better judgment, and because I'm not cold enough to ignore someone sobbing outside my home, I let her speak. I didn't invite her in. I stood in the doorway, a barrier, a boundary. She launched into a long explanation how motherhood was too hard, how Daniel didn't understand, how she felt invisible, how the spa days were the only thing keeping her sane, how she never meant for it to go this far. I listened. I didn't interrupt. But when she finished, I asked the question that mattered. "And the $23,000 debt," she faltered. I was going to pay it back with what I asked. "You quit your job 8 months ago." I was going to get another job eventually. And the lying I pressed, to your husband, to me, to your kid's babysitter, to your boss, to everyone. Her eyes filled again. "I just needed space. You don't understand what it's like to never get a moment to yourself." "I understand hardship," I said. "I don't understand fraud, or dumping your kids on someone without consent." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "I made mistakes." "Mistakes are forgetting to pay a bill," I replied, unable to soften my tone. "Not a full year of deception." Her face hardened, crying evaporated, and the venom returned. "You're cold," she hissed. "You're heartless. You're probably incapable of love. No wonder you're not married." There it was, the weapon she always reached for. I stepped back into my apartment and closed the door. She texted later, calling me cruel, saying I had abandoned her when she needed compassion. I blocked her, again. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't, because Melissa played her final card the next day. My mom called again, this time sobbing. "Marion, did you know about this? About how Daniel treats Melissa?" I sat up straighter. "What are you talking about?" "She says he's emotionally abusive," Mom cried. "Financially controlling. That he isolates her from everyone. That she's been trapped for years." My blood went cold. "She's lying," I said firmly. "But she seems so scared." "She's been lying for over a year," I cut in. "Why would she stop now?" Dad called shortly after. "I don't believe a word of it," he said. "But your mother's bought in. This is going to get uglier." He wasn't wrong, because 2 days later, Daniel called me. "She accused me of emotional abuse," he said flatly. "Filed a statement. My lawyer says it's a desperate move, but we have to treat it seriously." I closed my eyes. "Daniel, I'm so sorry." "She's making this adversarial," he continued. "And the lawyer said, if she wants a fight, we file for divorce now, with everything we have." And so he did. The divorce filing went through the next morning. Grounds: financial deception, child abandonment, fraud, instability, and now, false accusations. Daniel's lawyer built a meticulously documented case. Bank statements, fake work schedules, spa receipts, screenshots of her telling friends how easy it was to fool him, notes from the babysitter's real hours, evidence of the secret credit card, photos matching work days with brunches and mall trips, and the worst one, a text she sent to her sister 3 months ago. He has no clue. LOL. As long as I keep saying I'm tired from work, he believes everything. Men are so dumb. The temporary custody hearing came faster than any of us expected. I wasn't in the courtroom, but Daniel told me everything afterward. Melissa's lawyer attempted to paint her as a devoted stay-at-home mother who had simply been overwhelmed. They framed her financial behavior as coping mechanisms. They claimed the spa days were a mental health break, and the debt, a misunderstanding. Then Daniel's lawyer stood. He presented the timeline, showed the receipts, read the text messages aloud, displayed screenshots of her location history on the days she claimed she was working. He ended with the photo evidence of the triplets standing alone on my porch. Melissa broke down crying. The judge wasn't moved. Temporary primary custody was awarded to Daniel. Melissa would receive supervised visitation only twice a week at a family center. No overnights, no exceptions. Child support was ordered symbolically, since she wasn't working, but it set the expectation for future responsibility. That night, Melissa called me from a blocked number. Her voice was shaking with desperation. You have to talk to him. He listens to you. You have to make him see reason. I can't lose my babies. My throat tightened, but I held the line. I can't make him do anything. And Melissa, you should have thought about your babies before you built a year of lies. I was sick, she sobbed. I think I have depression or something. Then get help, I said softly. Get treatment. Get a diagnosis. Present it to the court. But don't put this on me. You're turning everyone against me. No, I said. You did that yourself. She inhaled sharply. I hope you're happy, she whispered. Then the line went dead. And for the first time since this began, a quiet, sinking realization settled inside me. This wasn't just a crisis, this was a collapse. And none of us were walking away from it unchanged. The days after the custody hearing felt strangely quiet, not peaceful, not resolved, just suspended. The kind of silence that hangs in the air after a crash, when dust is still drifting and no one has figured out what the wreckage means yet. But Melissa wasn't done. If anything, losing temporary custody lit a fuse inside her. She moved out of Daniel's house the same night she was served and went straight to her mother's place. It didn't take long for her downward spiral to become impossible to ignore. Her new Instagram account filled with long, dramatic paragraphs about betrayal, motherhood, and justice, and how no one understood her pain. She didn't say my name, but she didn't have to. Every post was a carefully sharpened arrow aimed at me. Family members began sending me screenshots like, I needed help interpreting her accusations. Are you jealous of her? Why did you ruin her marriage? Why couldn't you have just helped? I ignored all of them. In the family group chat, I finally wrote, I'm not discussing this. Direct any questions to Daniel. That message alone caused a small riot. Relatives argued for hours, some insisting Melissa was a victim, others pointing out her lies. My parents hovered somewhere in the middle, desperately trying to hold the family together without acknowledging the truth. Dad called me privately more than once to tell me he didn't blame me. Mom, however, seemed determined to. She phoned again that Sunday. Your sister is devastated, she said immediately. She's barely eating. She cries all day. Doesn't that matter to you? Of course it matters, I told her. But her choices put her in this position. She needs support, Mom argued. What she doesn't need is you taking sides. I didn't take sides, I said. I told the truth. Mom hung up mid-sentence. I sat there for a long time afterward, trying not to let the familiar ache settle too deeply. That feeling of always being the one expected to bend, to carry the weight, to be the reasonable one. Meanwhile, Daniel was falling apart in a completely different way. We met for coffee again, and seeing him nearly broke me. He looked hollow, like grief had carved out parts of him that used to be solid. She keeps texting me, he said quietly. Not to apologize, not to talk about the girls, just to blame you. Me. She says you manipulated everything, that you planted doubts in my head, that you always resented her. I stared at my cup. Do you believe her? Daniel shook his head immediately. No. Marion, you're the only person who's been honest with me through all this. I felt something warm push against my ribs, not relief, something heavier. Responsibility, maybe. We sat in silence for a while before I asked. So what happens now? My lawyer says she wants mediation, he replied. But I think she wants something else. I just don't know what. I found out a week later. I was folding laundry when I got a call from a number I recognized immediately, Melissa's mother. Her voice for once wasn't full of fury. It was measured diplomatic. That alone put me on edge. Marion, she began, we'd like to propose a solution that brings peace back to the family. I didn't speak. She took silence as encouragement. Melissa is willing to drop her request for additional custody time, she continued, if you're willing to apologize and help with the children regularly. I blinked. Apologize for what I finally asked. For overreacting, she said, and for causing unnecessary conflict. If you take the girls on weekends, Melissa can show stability to the court and everything will calm down. I almost laughed. It came out more like disbelief. So, she wants free childcare from me, I said slowly, in exchange for cooperating in her divorce settlement. That's not, and she wants a public apology for refusing to be manipulated. You're being difficult, she snapped. Be a sister. Help her. Before I could respond, I heard another voice on the line. Dad, my daughter doesn't owe yours anything, he said sharply. And using Marion like this is exactly why Melissa is in trouble. Silence, then the call disconnected. I set my phone down and just sat there stunned. It was the first time in my entire life my father had intervened decisively publicly on my behalf. Part of me wanted to cry. Part of me wanted to laugh. Mostly I just felt seen. But even with Dad stepping in, nothing about the situation with Melissa got easier. She started arriving late to supervise visitations, arguing with the staff, posting cryptic messages like, "Some sisters should have never been born. When the truth comes out, some people will regret everything." Daniel documented all of it. His lawyer advised him to. My own life felt like I was balancing between two worlds, the normalcy of work and my relationship with Evan and the emotional battlefield of my family. Evan became my anchor. He didn't flinch when things got messy. He was steady, thoughtful, honest. When my mother made passive-aggressive comments during dinner, he squeezed my knee under the table. When Melissa posted yet another melodramatic rant, he reminded me I wasn't the one unraveling. When I doubted myself, he told me I had done the right thing, even if no one else could see it yet. "You held the line," he told me one night. "People hate boundaries when they benefit from you not having any." I knew he was right, but knowing doesn't make the wounds hurt less. 2 weeks before the divorce was scheduled to finalize, Melissa tried her final play. She didn't call me. She didn't reach out to Daniel. She sent her mother to my parents. The mediation proposal was the same. I apologize publicly. I help with childcare every weekend. I restore Melissa's image in the family. Then she'll drop her fight for additional custody. Dad shut it down immediately. Mom said nothing. That silence was louder than any accusation. Melissa's lawyer soon told her the truth. She'd been avoiding the court, wasn't going to reverse anything. The evidence was too extensive, her recent behavior too concerning. She stopped fighting, stopped calling, stopped posting. It wasn't peace, not yet. But it was the beginning of the end. The final hearing came and went faster than any of us expected. Months of tension, court filings, accusations, tears, screaming silence, and exhaustion condensed into a single strangely calm morning. Daniel texted me afterward, "It's done." 2 words, heavy enough to knock the air out of my lungs. The divorce was finalized. Melissa didn't fight it. Her lawyer had already told her what she was up against and what she stood to lose if she dragged the battle out longer. So she folded quietly and suddenly, as if a switch somewhere inside her had finally given out. The settlement reflected the year she had spent weaving lies. Daniel got primary custody of the triplets. The girls stayed with him full-time. Melissa was granted every other weekend visits supervised at first, and then possibly transitioning to unsupervised. Once she completed the requirements, the judge laid out therapy, financial counseling, parenting classes. And the debt, all $23,000 of it, was hers alone. Daniel's lawyer had made sure the court understood how, when, and why it had been created. She would be paying it off for years. When Daniel told me, he didn't sound triumphant. Not even relieved. Just tired. Like a man finally stepping off a battlefield and realizing the noise hasn't stopped in his head yet. He said the girls were adjusting. They were young enough that most of this would fade into background memory. They loved him fiercely. They loved Melissa too, even if their time with her was going to be limited and structured for a while. Kids are resilient like that. Sometimes I think they're stronger than the adults raising them. Life settled slowly after that. Not cleanly, not perfectly, just slowly. Daniel found a rhythm as a single father. His workplace arranged a semi-flexible schedule. He hired a real professional babysitter for the days he needed extra help. He still looked tired most of the time, but there was a steadiness to him now, a clarity that hadn't been there before. I helped him sometimes on my terms when I volunteered, not when anyone demanded it. That made all the difference. Holding one of the girls while she giggled in my lap felt warm in a way that didn't drain me. It felt like family, not obligation. My relationship with Mom didn't snap back together, though. We had dinner a few times, awkward ones. She couldn't say the words I was wrong, and I didn't push her. She made small comments here and there that still stung, but she seemed to realize how far she'd overstepped. The warmth wasn't fully gone, but it wasn't fully back either. Dad, on the other hand, became unexpectedly protective. He checked in, not nosy, just present. A shift I didn't expect, but quietly cherished. Melissa didn't contact me after the divorce. Not a call, not a text, not even a half-hearted apology. I was blocked on everything from her end, though she likely assumed I had blocked her first. I heard bits and pieces through family. She was working retail again. Her mother was still furious at everyone except Melissa. She was paying off the debt little by little. She saw the triplets every other weekend under supervision and didn't fight it. It was strange. A year ago, her life looked picture perfect to everyone watching. Now she was rebuilding from the ground up. Do I feel sorry for her? A little. Not because she didn't deserve consequences. She did every single one. But because I can see the cracks now. The entitlement, the desperation, the belief that she deserved more than everyone else because motherhood had exhausted her. I've worked in pediatrics long enough to know what burnout looks like, and what denial looks like, too. Melissa had drowned quietly for years, and then convinced herself that deception was survival. But feeling sympathy doesn't mean I regret anything. I don't. People keep asking if I'm glad things turned out in my favor. What a strange question. No one is glad a marriage collapsed. No one is glad 3 children now split weekends between homes. No one is glad a family fell apart. What I am glad about is that the truth came out. That Daniel isn't being deceived anymore. That the girls are safe. That I didn't cave, not that first Saturday. Not the 100 times afterward when pressure tightened around me like a fist. The entire ordeal taught me something I already knew, but had never been forced to stand on. Boundaries matter. The first no I said weeks ago, the one that started everything, was the hardest one. Not because the task was difficult, but because saying no to family is treated like a crime. If I had caved, then I'd still be a free, uncredited nanny every weekend, while Melissa ran up credit cards on spa days. People who depend on your lack of boundaries will always call you selfish when you finally grow some. Let them. The fallout isn't your responsibility. The truth is simple.